With deer stalking, you have to take the rough with the smooth. Sometimes all the planets are aligned. The lucky rabbit's foot, the piece of heather, and the four-leafed clover in your gunslip have all done their work. Life couldn't be better. Other times, the gods are against you and venison is definitely off the menu. Roy was out this week shadowing his friend Keith on his ground in Hampshire. Keith is preparing to do his DSC2 and wants to take a better look at his bucks. He's performing some simulated stalks. Getting into position isn't a problem. Taking a sensible shot is. Roy explains.
The deer here that we're stalking up to is a young coming on middle-aged buck. I didn't get that close a look at him, and the guys were stalking up to him. The position that he's in now, with his neck extended, obviously would offer a good shot from the very short distance that they were. They'd already got to within 30-40 yards of him. But where he is, there's no safe backdrop. So what they had to do is try and stalk into a position where they would be able to take a shot where they've got the backstop. When he moves further down the line, then he does offer a shot, but it's a neck shot, and it's a little bit further away than Keith was happy to take at that time, which is fair enough. If you're not confident, then the best thing to do is not take the shot and walk away from it, and the buck will be there for another day. With this young buck here, as you can see, he's a fabulous candidate for part of the cull. The only problem obviously with him is the only shot he's offering up in the crop here is a direct headshot. Now, we've discussed this previously in another programme about head shooting, and it can be a little bit contentious when using it outside of parks and using it on wild deer. So when we are for some stalkers, they're not happy to do so, and indeed a lot of stalkers do frown upon the headshot. The other interesting point with this particular buck is he then runs out of the crop, runs up a clear ride straight in front of us. So if we were ready and in a position to shoot, then as he pauses, then he presents a perfect neck shot with a perfect backstop. He didn't turn broadside, but if you shouted at him or called him, he might have turned, or he might have hightailed it out of there a bit quicker. But that's just one of the gambles that you take. But again, you've got with this deer, he did offer up two chances to shoot him after he'd flushed from the crop, so we could have accounted for him. So it really just goes to show that you should always be ready. Be up on your sticks. If you're not happy with the shot that you've got at that time, then you may get the possibility of another one. Now with this buck, it really does just goes to show how close you can get to deer, and possibly when you're stalking through a woodland or high cover, you can walk within yards of a deer that's couched up, and it won't move. And he obviously knew that his best form of defence was to stay hidden, and Keith literally almost stepped on him before he decided to get up and go, and then he went off, but this one certainly didn't want to stop and turn around and have another chance or give a second look. We then came across this buck working down and browsing along a hedge line, and we did a bit of an assessment on him. We could see that his antler was broken there. And obviously that would regrow next year, so that's not a major issue for him. But he was a middle-aged animal, but he wasn't a particularly good specimen. Just an average buck, quite a narrow head on him, and so it was decided that he could be taken out as part of Keith's cull clan. And Keith very kindly offered that Andy could take the shot on him, as Andy doesn't get to do a lot of work with roe deer. He mainly concentrates on the larger species. So Andy took the shot on him. He showed perfect reaction to shots, showed a perfect heart shot. Very good blood trail when we got down to the point of shot, and the animal had taken a sweeping arc round back into the wood and was laid dead about 20 yards in. This was the first buck that we came across in the afternoon, and he was just working along the edge of a woodland. He didn't want to go in. He was quite happy where he was. And as you can see in the photo or in the video there, he was looking at us. He wasn't quite sure what was going on, what we were, and he was quite inquisitive. But he offered two possible broadside shots, but neither of them were very good. This first one, where he was standing and he was facing to the right hand side, you can see that you've got no available backstop behind him. You're just looking into the depth of the woodland there, and the heart lung shot is obscured but you've possibly got a neck shot there, depending on how confident you are in taking neck shots. It was probably getting on for 80 yards. He then moves into another position where he is standing with his head facing to the left-hand side. And with this shot, you can see that although you've got a very big tree offering what some people would think of as a backstop, it's not. Obviously, it's not a solid earth backstop behind him. So again, there's no shot there, or there's no safe backstop there. And again, if you look, that the foliage is covering the heart-lung area of the deer up. So even if you did have a good backstop, there was still no heart-lung shot. So obviously we continued stalking to see what other bucks were on the ground, and just as it was getting to last light, we came across this lad, and he was couched up with a doe and a kid just feeding in the crop. And as we approached him, he stood up, obviously made us, and he then just walked down the field edge a little bit. We then squeaked him just to turn him. It's still a little bit early for the rut to have kicked in yet, so we just gave him a little squeak on the Batello, and he turned, so offered a perfect broadside shot. But where we were losing the light, and we weren't sure how good a buck he was, it was decided to leave him, and we'll try and get a better look at him in better light. It was very difficult to assess how good he was, and if it was one that Keith wanted to leave on the ground. Again, though, it shows how long you have got for a shot in certain circumstances. So with him, obviously after he turned on the Batello, he gave us a perfect broadside opportunity, and then stayed there for quite some time, probably a couple of minutes, offering different shots before he disappeared off into the wood.